when I came back in from getting her Jamba Juice, because I was supposed to go get her Jamba Juice, I came back in. She was gone out of the emergency or out of the room, and the blood was just all over the floor.
Oh,
Like
God.
almost the whole floor was just covered in blood. I'm like, hey, where's my wife? And they're like, oh, he's here. We don't know. They gave me the runaround, sent me out of the room. I'm like, I'll just wait here. But so it was difficult. But then they said basically, if we got pregnant again, that she would either die, or the baby would die, or both. So I went and got fixed and said, okay, we're good. We're done.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that.
Hey guys, my name is Katie Enterkin, and I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to unveil what I like to call the beautiful beast that already lives inside us all. And welcome to the podcast about everything and a little bit of nothing. I've had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora, I love big words, a myriad of experiences just being a human and existing. These are real conversations with real people, getting to know each other, sharing stories that make us cry, and occasionally pee our pants with laughter. We talk about all kinds of life stuff: parenthood, business, life goals, fitness, chasing your dreams, and yes, even some animal noises are involved. For more information, keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. What's up, you beautiful beasts? Welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, I sat down with friend and police officer Aaron Polly. You guys, we had a really bad internet connection, so sometimes we don't make sense, and sometimes one of us doesn't laugh at something funny the other person said, but just go with it. Aaron's super outdoorsy and loves rock climbing and hiking, and he even has a rock climbing area that he built in his house. We talked about quite a few things. We talked about his experience with his wife being a surrogate mother and almost dying. We talked about how he accidentally wrote a book, and he opens up about his experience in an abusive relationship and why it's kind of hard to talk about it as a male victim. Last but not least, we discuss some of the random tear fests as parents and some super funny moments in parenthood. So, as always, I hope something lands with you today. I hope something you hear tugs on your heartstrings, and or I hope you laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am with Aaron Polly, and I don't think I've ever called you Aaron in my life, ever. It's always been Polly or Cracker.
Probably not.
Yeah. So, I don't know who this Aaron guy is, but that's his name. That's what we're going with. So, Mr. Aaron Polly, can you tell my listener who you are?
Sure. Yeah, I'm 40, actually over 40 years old now, 41. And I'm a grandpa.
Aww.
What?
No.
Yeah, just 3 months old. Yep. And I've been a police officer now for 17 years. Seems like an
17.
eternity. Yeah.
Wow.
Got 4 daughters. And like I said, 1 grandson. 2 older daughters are married off and gone. And just, I don't know. All I do is outdoors things. I don't watch TV. I don't do any of the other technical stuff. I just do sports and rock climbing, all that other kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. That's crazy though, because in my head, all your girls are still little, but the last time I saw you was probably 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
8 years ago.
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
When Tori was wrapping my belly fat.
Yeah, she's no longer wrapping belly fat.
Oh, okay. I could probably use one about now, but
always,
that's okay.
Pose some interesting conversation with friends.
Yeah. Bros.
Yeah, though it's freezing every once in a while up here with the internet. But we traveled America like this last summer, and there was 2 spots in the RV where we didn't have internet. We get back to Tahoe and there's no internet. That's
got to be weird though in this internet obsessed age. If that makes any sense.
Not for me. I mean, every once in a while, I don't get to get on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'm usually out playing anyways, so
That's cool.
I don't usually use the internet unless it's a map to get to a certain hiking trail.
Yeah, you're very outdoorsy. I see all your blah, blah, blah. All your posts on Instagram, like,
Yeah, I
oh,
agree.
talk to me about that really cool rock climbing thing in your house.
Oh yeah. So Tori saw I don't know, like a setup for this kid that was rock climbing in the house, and showed it to me. I said, "Hey, can I make that?" She said, "Well, as long as you make it look good." So I spent 5 times as much money on it because I had to buy the wood slats and paint them and paint the picture of Lake Tahoe on there and put up a whole bunch of stuff to make it look nice because she didn't want black marks all over the walls. But
yeah,
so the kids love to go up there, but we usually use it on colder days or when it's snowing, stuff like that, or when their friends come over.
That's really cool. I saw that. I was like, okay, now he's more of a badass.
Yeah, it's about 20 feet tall, and there's like some traversing too, so you can go sideways through the laundry room and then all the way up through the stairwell. So
through the laundry room?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like an entryway, and then it goes up to a couple stairs, and then it goes to a landing. So all of that is all rock climbing all inside there as well.
That's so cool.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, how's it been up there? When did you move up there?
We moved up here 2.5 years ago, and I kind of told Tori, I said, well, when I retire, I'd like to move to Tahoe, and she kind of said, why wait? So I said, okay. So
there you go.
Put in my transfer, and so here we are. They said it was going to take like 6 years to get up here, and then it only took 2.5 years. So I know it took us 6 months, and then we've been here for 2.5 years. So we were here much earlier than we were anticipating.
That's cool, though. You're like already #living the dream. And you don't even have to be retired.
Right? Well, it's like I'm partially retired, so I don't have to worry about...
There you go. Well, you are a grandpa, so...
Yes, that's very true. My body tells me that.
Oh.
I do abuse it several times in several different sports, but whatever. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. It keeps you young, though, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Young.
Well, at least
crutches,
mentally.
Whatever.
Crutches.
Yeah, mentally young.
Casts.
Yeah. If I'm not ripping a ligament in jiu-jitsu, I'm breaking something rock climbing, so whatever.
That's funny. That whole sentence just like cut up, so it was like longer than I think you intended it to be. If I'm not...
Yeah, because I looked at you and you were frozen.
I wish it could warn me when it's gonna freeze, so I could at least make a goofy face.
Right?
Yeah. So, fake listener inside of my closet. Just to give some background, we met at a restaurant in Riverside. I won't say any names. And I was his favorite server on, was it Saturdays or Sundays? I think it was Saturdays.
I think it was Saturdays. Yeah, I think it was Saturdays.
Yeah.
Because I usually had Sundays off.
Okay, there you go. And he would come in with his crew, probably like 8 or 10 of you, or 9. I skipped that number. And everybody in the restaurant knew those are Katie's people. Everyone's like, don't touch them. Those are Katie's people over there. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good times.
Yeah. And somehow I beat everybody there. We all left at the same time, but I beat everybody there. I'm always like, nope, I'm getting to pick my spot, pick my chair.
Yep. And then your favorite server knew exactly what your order was. I don't remember your order. That was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was a little ways ago. I don't even remember the order, but yeah, I remember the French vanilla creamer.
Yes. That's just so crazy. That was such a interesting time in my life, because that was the first time I lived by myself for 2 years. Like, I kind of grew up, adulting. So it was like this whole crazy time in my life where I was just actually figuring out who the hell I was. So yeah,
that was a transitional period in, I think, both of our lives. Because Tori and I had just gotten married, and I was still dealing with my ex and all that other kind of stuff. But
I remember that. Yeah.
But it's all water under the bridge, so I'm a better person for it now.
Yeah,
I'm good.
So there's 2 things I want to ask you about, and since we're on the topic of Tori, back in the day was when she was a surrogate with twins.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So we both had it in our minds to be surrogates, and I never really brought it up because it was her body and she'd have to go through it all and everything else. And then one day she just said, I would really like to be a surrogate. We were watching, I think it was the show Little People, and they had to have a surrogate on there. And so she wanted to be a surrogate for someone who couldn't physically have kids. And at the time I had 4 daughters already. So, I kind of wanted 6, but we said, we'll go ahead and pick a surrogate and a surrogate family. And there was a bunch of people that they were either famous or they'd want to terminate the pregnancy if the baby had any issues whatsoever, if it wasn't perfectly healthy. They all wanted to do these testings and stuff. And so we came to the conclusion that we wanted someone that valued life as like we did. So if they couldn't physically have kids, we wanted someone that wanted to keep a child no matter what. And then there was a couple of them that just didn't want to wreck their body. And I'm like, well, that's kind of lame. So we prayed about it. Yeah. We prayed about it, talked about it quite a bit. And then we met a Christian family down in Corona, and they wanted to, keep the babies no matter what. And we went with it. Tori had some problems during the pregnancy, and she almost died twice, and she bled out twice. And from that, it came to result that we now couldn't physically have kids. But, God bless us with 4 daughters. So I'm good. I already have a grandchild, and I'm sure they'll be producing a whole lot more because they're like rabbits, I'm sure. But so I'll be fine.
You'll be good. And grandbabies are a little different because you can kind of spoil them a little more. At least I hope. Well, my parents are already spoiling my son, so
yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Because then when they get whiny and crying, you're like, oh, I guess you want mommy back.
Yeah, you can just give them back. Give them a cookie first and then give them back.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're like, why won't you go to sleep?
Mom says these will give you the runs. Here you go.
Yeah.
Little payback.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. I knew she almost died, but I didn't know it was twice. And I didn't know that it kind of messed up the reproductive system, to be nice. I didn't know that part about it. Because you mentioned it briefly.
I walked in.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, I walked in and there was, she was in the hospital room, and she wasn't feeling good, and she was very pale. Well, to backtrack a little bit, we just signed the blood transfusion thing like moments before she delivered. Like, might as well go ahead and sign it just in case you need a blood transfusion. Should nothing be wrong, but whatever, we'll go ahead and sign it.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, she had accretia, which is where the placenta grows into the uterine wall.
Okay.
So while she was delivering, after she delivered the 2 babies, they couldn't get the placenta out. So the girls were going elbow deep up inside, ripping pieces of it out. And it was like a garden hose of blood just coming out. And I mean, there's a whole long story to the whole thing. But so they thought that they sealed the blood leak or the bleeding or whatever. And so she was very pale when I came in, and she's like, I still don't feel right. I still feel like there's something wrong. And they pushed on her stomach, and blood just flowed out of her. Oh. And so that was the first time that she bled out. And then they immediately got the blood supplied to her. And then they sealed it again. And then when I came back in from getting her Jamba Juice, because I was supposed to go get her Jamba Juice, I came back in. She was gone out of the emergency or out of the room, and the blood was just all over the floor.
Oh, God.
Almost the whole floor was just covered in blood. I'm like, hey, where's my wife? And they're like, oh, he's here. We don't know. They gave me the runaround. Yeah. Sent me out of the room. I'm like, I'll just wait here. But so it was difficult. But then they said basically, if we got pregnant again, that she would either die or the baby would die. Or both. So I went and got fixed and said, okay, we're good. We're done.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. So.
Whew. That's nuts.
Yeah. It was definitely rough times. Yeah. I call it daddy-daughter days because I had the 2 younger ones, and I took off, an extra couple months of vacation and just burned up a lot of time, and I took care of the kids while she was still in the hospital. So
yeah,
it was daddy-daughter days.
daddy-daughter days. That's cool. That's scary though, because you hear all the possible risks of things that could go wrong, and most of the time it doesn't go wrong. When I was pregnant with Des, I had complete placenta previa. So to get, for TMI, basically the placenta was covering the entire opening of the cervix. So if I did try to push him out, I would have bled out. And so for that reason, I had to like stop exercising and doing anything. They called it complete pelvic rest. So anything that could potentially open up or somehow rupture the placenta, I could bleed out and die. So, I mean, the whole pregnancy was smooth, and that's why I had a scheduled C-section. But yeah, they're like, most likely things would happen, but you have to be really, really careful. And I'm like, it's just scary. It's really scary.
Yeah.
And then you hear when it actually does happen to people, and you're like, oh my gosh. So.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
That's super scary. And then, of course, you're like, okay, well, is it going to happen? Is it not? Am I on bed rest for no reason? And this is extremely boring. Or am I saving myself and my child? What am I doing? Yeah. Tori was on bed rest for a couple months.
That's insane. I would go nuts. But, obviously it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to bless the family, and they ended up with twins.
Yeah.
And the babies, the kids are very healthy now. So.
How old are they now?
Let's see. I think they are 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man, we've known each other a while.
Right?
Yeah.
It has been a while. I haven't seen you in a long time, that's for sure.
I know. That's crazy.
I mean, Facebook follow you or Instagram, whatever, but.
Yeah, that's different. I was talking about this to my friend last night. I'm like, we're all connected all the time, yet not connected at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, even though we're face to face right now, there's still a disconnect.
Yeah,
because we're not actually face to face.
Yeah, and give a hug and say, hey, how's it going, and everything else. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a great segue, even though it's not.
Not really.
So when I started following you on, was it I think it was Facebook first, because I wasn't really an Instagrammer until
okay,
like 20, I don't know. But anyway, you were posting stop of the day, which it was funny. I looked forward to it every day.
My stops of the day, I actually kind of got in trouble for that, so I had to stop doing it.
Oh, that's you had to delete your Facebook account or something, right?
I sure did. I guess I put on something that offended someone that was high up. That was one of my friends.
Oh.
And he didn't want all of him and his friends being investigated, so they told me to delete mine and cancel everything out. So I deleted it for like 5 years, and then I deleted all the stuff off of it.
And I was sad.
Yeah. Well, now the stop of the day, every once in a while, I'll put them on Instagram. I don't put them on Facebook anymore, but I put them on Instagram.
Po humor.
Yep.
Yeah. And then my husband started following you because he looked forward to it. I'd go, honey, check it out. I still have my favorite that we still talk about.
Which one is that?
The one you pulled over a lady for not having a hands-free device, and she kept going, but I'm holding it.
Yeah.
But I'm holding it.
But I'm holding it. It's not to my ear.
I know. And you're like, but you need hands-free, but I'm holding it. Yeah, we still talk about that one. Even though it's not like one of the most extravagant ones, but it's just so funny how people are.
Well, there's some I can't put on there. But because they're either so super disgusting or they're another agency or stuff like that. And I can't really put it in there because I'm trying not to bash other agencies.
Gotcha.
And so there's a few that I'm like, I'll just tell those to my family and that's it.
Yeah. What's your favorite stop of your career, if you're allowed to say
Well, Oh yeah. Well, I have several, but I had so many when I was down south. Up here, it's hard to come by. Every once in a while I get a good one up here. But
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite ones is also kind of a simple one. And I pulled someone over and I asked him for his registration and insurance, and he opened his glove box and this huge vibrator just falls out. And he's like, "Oh, it's not mine. It's not mine. It's not mine." I just looked at him and said, "I don't judge, man. I don't judge." He was so embarrassed that this thing fell out into his hand. And so, I mean, I thought it was hilarious, but
That's
there's so many
awesome.
other stops. But I
So,
think
what prompted you to turn it into a book? Ladies and gentlemen, he has a book on Amazon.
it was actually my uncle. And he would always ask me, "What's your funniest stop for this week? What's your funniest stop? What's your dirtiest stop or your grossest stop?" So I kept telling him over and over again different things that were happening. And he begged me to write a book. So it was never really to make money off of. I mean, we made a little bit of money off of it, but it wasn't for money. It was actually for my family so that they could actually read some. So I came up with it. It was for a year, basically. So it took me a while to do it, but 365 stops by your average everyday cops. And so I wrote the book. Well, Tori and I wrote the book, kind of. She's the author on there. and and I illustrated some of the stops, and so did one of my friends. And so we have a second book that's on its way, but it's 2/3 of the way done, and I got to use real stops, so it's taking forever up here in Tahoe because there's hardly any funny stops. So every once in a while I get one and I'll put it in there, and it's I think I'm at 220 stops.
So you're doing another year?
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Another 365 stops by your dumbfounded local cops.
It's funny. I have a confession. I haven't bought it yet because I forgot.
Oh, it's all right. It's all good. You'll have a new favorite, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, probably. It is in my Amazon wish list, though.
I lost you for a second there. I lost you for a second there. I heard it was in your Amazon wish list.
Yeah, my book sniffer wish list.
Oh, good. Every time I go back and I reread it, oh man, there's just so many things that brings up memories, and I just start cracking up laughing.
What's another favorite?
I like it when the kids tell on their parents. So like I stop someone, I'm like, "Sir, I stopped you for going 70 in a 45 zone." And he's like, "No, I was going 48 miles an hour." And the kid in the back seat, "Dad, you're lying. I was watching you, telling you to slow down."
Oh man. Oh, I do have another second favorite that I read recently when I was stalking your Instagram before our interview. Just kidding. Well, half. It was you pulled over a chick, and she said something like, "We can handle this a different way," or at least that's how I read it. And you're like, "No, we're gonna handle this the original way I intended by writing you a ticket." And she's like, "Well, I'll just tell the cops that you touched my boob." And you're like, "Well, I'll just show them the body cam footage and they'll know you're lying." Did I say that right?
What? This is recorded? Yeah. She was shocked that we actually video record things. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Well, I have one. She was like, "Well, can I get out of the ticket if I show you my boob?" I said, "No, I've seen those before." She goes, "Well, can I show you my vagina?" I said, "No, I've seen those before too." I said, "Tell you what I haven't seen." I said, "If you get out," because we were in a parking lot after I stopped her. I said, "If you get out of your car and crawl around on all fours, barking like a dog 3 times around your car, I'll let you go." And she goes, "No, give me my ticket." Like, you're about to give me a visual of your vagina, but you won't bark like a dog?
So funny. That's totally something I would do too.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But whatever,
not the vagina and boobs. I would bark like a dog.
I was going to say, I don't judge.
I used to bark at people out the car window when I was younger. Silence.
Me too.
What a great time for the internet to cut out.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Well, I heard you saying you barked like a dog at people when you were younger. I said, me too. It was, last week.
Last week, yeah.
Whatever.
That's funny. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
How have you been? I mean, I've stalked you a little bit on your releasing the beast within. And and I've talked to you a little bit, listening to a little bit of what's been going on and stuff. How have you been lately? I haven't talked to you in 8 years.
Good. We live in Palmdale now.
Okay.
So I was telling this to somebody the other day. They say there's like really big life events that happen that can sort of mess with your mental health or whatever. There's getting a new job or moving to a new town or having a baby. We did all three of them. And like we had a baby, and then my husband got hired with my stepdad's company up here, and then we moved to Palmdale, and I was like, who am I? And I've got all the baby hormones in me still. And so I did go through this like depression period, I guess.
Okay.
It wasn't as much depression as it was just feeling lost,
Okay. Yeah.
But now
like identity crisis.
Kinda. I'm like this new mom. I had to quit my job at LA Fitness because they don't have any up here. And I felt terrible for leaving all my students because it took a while to build up my classes over there. And,
they were also, it's almost like family.
Yeah. So, I went on maternity leave, and I was like, I promise I'm coming back. And then I came back, and then like 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm moving. So some of them got really mad at me.
I didn't say how long I was coming back for.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. But I mean, other than that, we're doing good. Like most of my family's up here. Well, immediate family, like my mom and my brother, and they all work for my stepdad's company. Shit Audio. Shit Audio. I work with them now too. Yeah, nice. SCHIIT.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So it's high-end audio, like amps and DACs, digital to analog converters.
Oh, very cool.
Fancy talk.
Yeah, all the stuff I wouldn't know about.
Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm like the newest kid there. I work at the retail store on weekends, and I just tell people I'm an overpaid security guard because I don't know anything about audio.
They ask you questions, you're like, I don't know, I was going to ask you the same thing.
But they have signs around the store that says, don't expect them to know everything, and if they don't, you can look it up. And I don't know, good. They just have really good humor there. So
that's good.
Obviously, it's Shit Audio.
Yeah, it's a perfect name for it. Yeah, our lives are totally different from what it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
But we still look exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I definitely don't feel the same.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Were you there when I almost cut off my leg?
Maybe. That doesn't sound familiar. But could that be the reason you disappeared?
Okay, you would have known because I was in. Yeah, I disappeared for quite a few weeks. I took a saw and almost yanked off one of my legs. So right at the shin bone. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. How? Yeah. Well, I was cutting baseboards. So the story kind of starts with Tori and her friend. They were going to go out for dinner and movies. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll either go boxing or I'll finish up the baseboards. And they went to the movies and to dinner. And I'm like, I'll go ahead and finish up the baseboards. Well, my ex, she stole pretty much everything, all my tools. So I didn't have a sliding miter saw. So I used a skill saw and tacked the guard back so I wouldn't mess up the cuts. And it just so happened that I hit the base and it pendulumed right into my shin. Yeah, it was pretty fun. So I squeezed it real quick with a dirty rag and put duct tape from my knee to my ankle. And I put a little bit of weight on there and realized it wasn't broken all the way through. So my neighbors who saw me do it, they kind of hid in their garage kind of waiting for me to go with the ambulance. So they could probably steal all my tools, the remainder of them. So I put those all away and fed the dogs and gave myself some water and drove myself to the hospital. But I mean, and then I get there, the ER is completely full So I parked like a half mile away. This time the pain's already set in, the shock's off. And I'm kind of walking in, getting passed by ladies with strollers and stuff, and they're looking at me weird. And I get in there, and it's a room made for like maybe, I don't know, 75 people or so. And there's like 100 people in there. They're all standing up against the walls and stuff. I asked the nurse, I'm like, hey, where do I go? I got a 6-inch cut into my leg. It's through the bone and tendons and ligaments and whatever. And he goes, oh, you're in the right place. Go ahead and just stand here in line. Okay. So I stood in line and waited.
Here and bleed out.
The nurse was kind of like, yeah, I saw your silver leg, whatever. Yeah, just stand here and bleed out. Well, I put a lot of pressure on it. So I knew it wasn't going to bleed out, thankfully. But so we get up there and everybody's looking at me like, oh, great, this guy's going to take my spot in line, So they cut off the duct tape, and it busts open, looks like a pastrami sandwich. And she's like, oh my gosh, get him to trauma. Like, all right, I thought this was the emergency room. Well, come to find out, people that don't have insurance or ID, they have to go to the doctors. They go to the ER, and they just don't pay their bill because the ER can't push them away, where urgent care can push them away and say, sorry, you need insurance or an ID. So all people were there just, with sniffles or whatever. And I didn't even think I was in the right room because nobody looked like it was an emergency. I don't know. Yeah. Just my definition of emergency was different than theirs, I guess. But it all worked out in the end. Whatever. Yeah. After being off work for 6 weeks. And
man.
Still back to running and rock climbing again. So I'm good.
Of course. You got to get back up and keep doing what you were doing before. I'm sure you would still be doing that even if you did cut your leg off. You'd be like, all right, where's the coolest prosthetic limb I can get?
Yeah. And the lightest weight. That way I don't have, as much weight to pull up on the rocks.
Exactly. So we can end it if you want. Or
you spoke with a couple other friends about the physical abuse and the mental abuse in their previous marriages and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. A lot of times people don't speak of it, but guys get it too sometimes. So that's actually one of the things that happened with my ex was the verbal abuse, mental abuse, that kind of stuff. But it's I don't know. Guys just don't really complain about it as much. I think we just don't want to be called little sissies or worse.
Yeah, you guys are programmed to think that you're not allowed to have emotions, which is really sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to dig into that? Dissect that a little bit? Tell me about it.
It was weird because the verbal abuse, it was always there, but because I was a police officer, one of the biggest things is to complain about domestic violence on the police officer so that way he loses all of his job, his guns, everything.
Yeah.
And so I would be out boxing in the garage and she would try to jump in front of me boxing with the heavy bag to try to get me to hit her, and then she could call the cops on me. Or there was other times that she would just stand in front of me, poking me in the face, saying, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And actually hitting me in my nose and my cheeks. And I'm trying to move my head around. So she's not poking me. She would always try to get me to blow up. But I mean, you obviously know me. I'm way too chill for that. But I mean, I'd have to get up at like 3:00 to go to work, and she'd be standing over me yelling and screaming. And it was a bad situation. And, thankfully I'm no longer in that situation. But when the kids were like 13, she was really taking out physical and mental abuse on them. So we ended up getting custody of them like in the middle of the school year from Kentucky to California because of her behaviors. But it's amazing what they allow in certain states and stuff. Like we had the CPS go over there, and she was pushing them down to the ground and jumping on them and sitting on them and calling them horrible names, like super bad names. And so the CPS girl, she's like, well, it's not really child abuse. It's just she's just a bad parent.
Wow.
Okay, well, that doesn't really make sense. But yeah. So finally, after fighting with the court for 7 years, we finally got the kids. And I mean, we had a lot of damage control to do, but it was better than not getting them at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those things that makes you who you are, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yep.
It's true though, and like you probably heard me talking about it in one of the other episodes, like sometimes the mental and emotional abuse is worse than just getting hit in the face. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Especially like for me it was gradual. Like it wasn't, obviously we saw something in them that made us love them in the beginning, right? We didn't just be like, oh, look at this abusive person. Let's check that out. So, but like it's gradual, and then once you get to a certain point where it's every day, it's like you feel stuck,
Especially when you have kids. If you have kids in the mix and you've been with them for, a while, it makes it so much more difficult to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, the right thing's never really easy.
Yeah. Was she did she have mental disorders, or was she just nuts? I guess that's the same thing, but.
Yeah, kind of. I think she's bipolar, but she watched her mom and her grandma hate men, I guess, and abuse men all her life. So it was normal for her. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a couple of things that I saw her mom do to her dad, and he's still with her, but I mean, they're not happily married at all, but they've been married forever, so might as well stay there.
Yeah.
But so I think it was a learned behavior, and then also I think it's bipolar because you'd have to walk around on eggshells because you didn't know what happened, when anything was going to happen. If someone else made a different comment, all of a sudden she'd snap.
Yeah.
Go from 0 to 60 real quick, and just made everybody nervous, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Not really want to be there, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, not that gives them an excuse to do anything like that, but I always wonder what makes people that way,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she wasn't abused, she wasn't mistreated. She was given everything on a silver spoon, I guess you could say. So she never really had to work for anything. So even right now, she's still living with her parents and not really working and stuff. And I don't know, that's her thing. That's her problem, not my problem. But so it's not like she was abused herself, but she definitely learned the behavior.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in my view, multiplied it.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know everything that goes on behind closed doors with her parents either. So it could just be about the same.
Yeah. Interesting. But I remember when you got custody of your girls.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a happy day. And it was very stressful because they had a lot of habits that we don't accept in our house.
Yeah.
So, and then, the preteens and the teens going through those years, it was really rough guiding them in the right direction from there. But it was worth it for sure.
Oh, yeah. And now they're both grown up and out of the house, and one of them has an itty bitty bitty baby boy. Yeah.
He's not even itty bitty. He's pretty big size for 3 months. He's already standing up with their help, of course, with his fingers and
wow, 3 months.
Trying to learn how to crawl and everything else.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his dad's taller than me. His dad's, I think, 6'3". Yeah, they live down in SoCal. And then the other ones, my oldest daughter, she's in Kentucky with her husband.
That's still nuts to me. There's still kids in my head.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They're kids in my head too.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I always tell my husband, like, when my son does something new that he learned, I go, I'm not ready for him to go to college.
Yeah.
And he goes, we have quite a while before that happens.
But you know what's weird is when you have kids, it's almost like every year gets 10 days shorter.
Every year gets what?
The days are super long, but the years are so short. They go by so fast.
Yeah. Mine's he'll be 2.5 next month already. And I feel like he was just born. And he's in 4T clothing.
Wow.
So and he's really tall. Like he hovers over the 3 and 4 year olds. And so like some people, he's still learning how to talk. So in public, people will be like, how old is he? And I'll be like, he's 2. Oh. Like they think maybe he's a little delayed or something. I'm like, no, he's just a big boy. And he looks just like me.
He's just, yeah. Aw. Yeah, I see him, of course, on Instagram and stuff, but
yeah.
I've never met him.
I know. Well, like from here down, he's me, and then from here up, he's his daddy. Minus the gray and the eyebrows.
Aw. Oh, tattletale.
Well, he is 42, so, you know.
I'd rather have gray than no hair. I'm 41, so, I mean, my hair's been scared of my head for years. So.
Yeah, but you look good bald. Some people pull it off really well.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
I just accept it and shave it every 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's funny, I don't ever think of you as bald, though.
Well, I mean, right now I have a yarmulke. Eventually I'll have like a cul-de-sac, I'm sure.
It's okay, it gives you character.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, your face keeps freezing on my screen. Yeah. See, that'd be perfect. I don't know if I'd be able to keep a straight face if I was talking to you. That was the frozen face.
Ladies and gentlemen, I crossed my eyes. All one of you. 2. It's funny, I always joke.
3.
Yeah, I always joke, I'm like, my one listener who's my mom, and she doesn't even listen.
Well, I'm listening.
I know, that's good. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. I find it very entertaining.
Good. And I like, the whole point is just to talk to different people because everybody's so different. And it's like, I don't even know, you can love everybody that's different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's my whole thing. So, and everybody has different stories that maybe somebody who's listening can relate to.
Yeah.
You know, I think I had my toughest conversation last night with a friend of mine from junior high.
Uh-huh.
Her dad just got sentenced in prison for doing horrible things to her daughter. Oh, and so it was like, and I found out the details of it last night, and I'm still in shock from it, from age 4 to 9.
Wow. That's so sad.
So I was like, I'm not sure how I'm going to edit that one, but it was probably the most intense interview I've done so far.
Yeah, also, and then it makes your problems seem like they're nothing.
Yeah. So.
And see, my perspective is I have to deal with people that have done those things, and then I have to treat them professionally. And, you know, realistically, I just want to beat them up like everybody else wants to beat them up.
Yeah.
But I have to hold my temper and talk to them politely. And I mean, there's been a couple of times that, man, I mean, I wanted to just tear into someone, but you can't lose it because then you lose everything too. Yeah. So it's kind of one of the things that we sign up for. There's a couple of horrible ones that I had to investigate.
It makes me
so sad.
Yeah, especially not that it's any less horrific when the person's a grown-up, but when it's just a kid.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, I'm about to cry.
Yeah.
Speaking of crying, I had a good tear fest today because I watched The Lion King for the first time as a mom. You've seen The Lion King, right? Everybody's seen The Lion King.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw the new, like, what do they call it? Live action feature where it's just like a cartoon, but they're. So the part where Mufasa dies, I totally lost it. I'm like, oh, Mufasa, poor Simba. It was and then I told my husband about it.
Change the script.
I told my husband about it. He's like, but you've seen the movie. You know it was going to happen. I'm like, I know, but I'm a mom now, and Simba doesn't have a dad. Funny. It was so funny.
Oh, man. Here's confession time, I guess.
Okay.
The only time I actually kind of cry is, you know, either with like something with my family or like on movies, because it makes me feel like my family, you know, that kind of stuff that goes on. And I have one of my daughters, she is so sympathetic and empathetic. It is amazing. I mean, she watches a movie and all of a sudden tears just start coming down and I'm holding her and hugging her, and there we are crying together on the couch. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so lame. It's a cartoon. But you know, when I almost cut off my leg, you know, I dropped a tear out of my eye. I'm like, no, you get back in there. You know, so I could cry over a movie, but you know, physical pain. I'm like, nah, I'm a man. I don't need to cry.
That's funny.
But,
and then the next day, poor Bambi.
I know. Yeah, which is funny because I go hunting too. So
there you go.
Whatever.
Oh, and then I cried at the park. I took my son to the park today, and it was the first time I've had a chance to take him in a while. Like, usually my mom takes him when she watches him. And it was the first time I kind of just let him go on all the stuff without me going on there with him and making sure he doesn't fall off, because he's a big boy. Like, he can go down the slide himself. You know?
Yeah. Just wait until you know, he's making you breakfast while you're sleeping still, and you're like, oh no, he's using the stove. Please don't.
Oh.
What are you making? Yeah, I've woken up a couple times. I'm like, oh, look at that. You made a mess and breakfast with it.
Was the breakfast good at least?
Yeah, sure. It sure did. It sure was. It tasted great. So, and it was made with love. So. Yeah,
that's the whole point. Yeah.
And the house didn't get burned down, so we're all good.
That's good. Yeah, Des likes to do everything by himself. Like, he's one of those. No,
very
mommy. He says, "Mommy, Des, do it. Des, do it." And I'm like, okay, you can do it. So
yeah, of our two remaining in the house, we have one that's just like that, and then the other one's like, can you put my socks on for me? I'm like, no, you're 9.
You're 17. You can do it yourself.
Yeah. I am not clipping your toenails.
That's funny. Oh, man. Parenthood. It's a game changer. That's for sure.
Yes,
you got 4.
It's a reason to go trick-or-treating and not have anybody look at you weird. I know,
exactly. Right? We have, in Palmdale, all 3 years, we've gone through like 5 or 6 bags of candy. For all the trick-or-treaters. I'm like, oh, cool. So there's lots of them out there. So we took them out this year, and there were 3 houses open on my street. I'm like, what is going on? You know, I was so sad. You froze.
Wow.
Yeah. I was all excited but I realized that people were just driving and looking for open houses, which explains all the kids coming to our house. But it's just weird because it's my generation whose kids are going trick-or-treating, and our generation is the generation that went out without our parents trick-or-treating and bring home like pillowcases full of candy. So it made me sad. I'm like,
every year a pillowcase. Yep.
On rollerblades. Did you ever do it on rollerblades?
No, but I went running as fast as possible with a huge heavy sack of candy.
Yeah. That's funny.
And we took ours because up here there's no streetlights on most of the streets. So there's certain neighborhoods that are better than others. So we actually drive ours down the street and take them to a different neighborhood, and walk around, you know, maybe for an hour and a half, and they're giving out full-size candy bars and everything else. Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah. And every year we try to dress up too. So this year was a simple costume, but dressing up in Tahoe is much different than down south, because down south, you know, Tori could wear a bikini Princess Leia outfit. Up here, she has to be Chewbacca, you know?
Yeah. Actually, I think talking about Halloween and trick-or-treating is a really good place to call it a wrap. I do have one question for you, though. I ask everybody. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
I would say to not worry about the small stuff and keep your priorities at priorities. You know, a lot of people mix up their priorities and they get busy and caught up in the day-to-day and end up treating those who they love the worst, and forgetting what really matters in life.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining the Unveiling the Beast podcast crew.
Definitely. It was a lot of fun. I wish the phone worked better. But.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Polly signing off. Until next time.